Bankruptcy, divorce laws, disability, probate, there are so many classes on the path to practicing law. Unfortunately, most schools fail to instruct you on the business of law. This is Solo De Facto, a show dedicated to discovering the success secrets that exist in the reality of running a solo practice. My goal is to find the one thing that separates each guest from the rest to give you practical solutions to create a thriving firm. Solo De Facto is sponsored by Back Office Betties, trusted virtual legal receptionist. Welcome, everyone. I am happy to be here today with another episode of Solo De Facto. Today's guest is expert communicator and PR guru. He's the president of Just Small Biz Marketing and vice president of PR for Lawyers. Brad Swezey, welcome to the show.
Hi, Kory. Thanks for having me. It's great to be here.
Awesome. Well, let's get into it. So my first question for you today is, what's the one thing that you wish attorneys knew about running a successful law firm?
Basically, the one thing I think most attorneys, don't realize is you can't assume that your greatness as an attorney is just magically going to attract you as clients.
Okay.
Like I can go into, yeah. I mean, I went to law school. I went to Georgetown University Law Center in DC. Most people know it's a pretty good law school. It's, definitely one of the top of the country. And nowhere in law school do they ever teach you anything about marketing. Now, maybe they've changed it since I went there, but basically, all right, I went to law school. I'm fairly smart. That's all I need to do. My work is going to speak for itself. I'm going to go out there. I'm going to do great legal work. And then magically these clients are just going to start coming to me. And while that does happen for some law firms, the bigger ones who have established a reputation, when you're dealing with smaller law firms, that doesn't always happen because you're an attorney among a sea of attorneys out there. And so your work, unless people hear about it, is not going to necessarily get you the clientele that you want. And then basically you're going to end up stressed out all the time and wondering how you're going to pay the bills. And I think COVID showed attorneys that their model of going out there and networking, it works when you can go out there and network, but when you can't go out there and network, what do you do? And I think a lot of people we thought their whole approach to the law practice, because when you can't do the one thing that you're doing, then you're in a bad situation. And both, you and I are familiar with Dan Kennedy, et cetera, but he talks about that, don't rely on just one channel to get you business, because if that one channel stops, you're in a world of hurt, like many attorneys were in the past, year and a half now, I think.
Yeah. And that brings up a great point of, you really don't understand how difficult marketing is until you try and do it. It's one of those things that you kind of think that it'll just come naturally to you because your business.
Right.
And then you get into it and you're like, that thing's working. What am I supposed to do? And then you're right. When you can't go out there and talk to people in person, how are you going to get people to come to you?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, we really started focusing about March of last year, so 2020, on, all right, how are we going to capture clients? How are we going to get law firms without being able to reach them? In the past year and a half, I've met personally 2 or 3 attorneys. The rest has been primarily through Zoom. I mean, that's pretty much it. But, you have to establish that initial contact with someone and then take them through and actually get them to want to do it. Now, some attorneys have found like the courts are closed, and that caused a lot of people a huge heartburn. But then there are some attorneys, like bankruptcy attorneys, where now the courts allowed for people to come in and do virtual bankruptcies. So you don't have to go there and, go in front of a judge or have your attorney go in front of a judge, et cetera. All of that could be done via Zoom, or something other than Zoom. I use Zoom because everybody uses Zoom now. But, so if you don't have that, that thing, you go, marketing's easy. It is one of the most challenging things out there. I mean, and that's one of the things that attracted me to, marketing, is that challenge of taking somebody into a funnel, so to speak. And I know a lot of attorneys don't think of that, but taking them in and walking them through until they become clients. And the thing that, I try to equate, and lawyers don't like it when I do this, but lawyers, a lot of times you're viewed the same way as auto repair shops. Nobody thinks about auto repair until your car breaks down. Your car breaks down. Now you go, I got to get my car fixed. It's the same thing with the law. You don't normally, well, you and I do because we do that every day. But most people, they don't go, no, I think I want to go on Facebook and see what the civil litigator is putting on his Facebook page or what the immigration attorney is putting on her page. Most of them don't do that. It's one of those things where when something goes wrong or you want to pursue action because something went wrong, that's when you start thinking about attorneys. And it's very important that you're ready when they're going to do it. And the other thing is it's not easy when people have a choice. I can look up personal injury attorney near me and have 20, 30, 40 attorneys right there. How am I going to pick you? Or why should I pick you over everybody else? And that's where we kind of walk through with attorneys going, all right, these are all the things that people are going to be doing to check you out before they even decide to use you. And I think that's one of the things that, attorneys should do. Speaking about small businesses or solo practitioners, is a lot of these small firms like to do it, is don't pretend you're something you're not. I see so many solo practitioners, they've got a lawyer and a paralegal, and then you go on their website and you can't read anything about the attorney. It's just a generic website about a law firm. And I think one of the things you do is, hang a lantern on your problem, so to speak, is look, I'm a solo practitioner. When you call my office, you're going to reach me or my paralegal. That's it. You're not going to get this 800 number out there where all of a sudden I call this 800 number. I don't know who I'm talking to, right? And then my concern as a client would be, am I going to get the attention that I deserve? Because you can go to a big law firm and there are a lot of them out there, and you think you're getting, I'll just use, John Morgan from Morgan & Morgan, because they're a big law firm on the East Coast. You're just going to assume you're naturally going to have that attorney handle your case. But with 400 or 500 attorneys or however many attorneys this law firm has, you're probably not going to get the big lawyer. He or she is too busy managing this law firm. You're going to get somebody who might be out of law school for a few years or maybe 5 years. You're not going to get what you think you're getting. And so I think solo practitioners really need to, like I said, hang a lantern on their problem and say, look, I'm handling your case. Your case is a big case to me, and we work with a lot of firms and lawyers who just went out on their own. They got a few years experience with a bigger firm. Now they're on their own. Now they have to confront, oh my God, I have to spend a lot of money here up front to get clients, and if you don't have that investment mindset, you're going to be in trouble. I mean, it's like law school. I like to say that, look, in law school, you go to law school, you're probably not working for 3 years of your life. You're making $0 from law. You might get some summer internships paid, but for the most part, for 3 years, you're not making any money. But you continue doing it because there's a payoff, at year 4, year 3, depending on when you pass the bar, there's a payoff. And it's the same thing with marketing. You've got to take that approach of, I have to spend money now, and I might have to spend money tomorrow and the next day until I get that magic client that can then use to, enhance my funnel and get me more clients. You have to go into it with the right attitude. And if you don't, you're going to be just twiddling your thumbs and going, I don't know why I went out on my own or something like that. So.
Totally. So would you say that a solo attorney really needs to kind of lean in and make it known that they're solo and make it known who they are to attract people to them, so kind of how they stand out from that big firm?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm dealing with a client of ours who's, an immigration attorney and small firm, But I say, do you have a dog? Because I noticed a picture of a dog in the background. You have a dog? Yeah. You have a family? Well, maybe you want to personalize your about me page and highlight that. People love dogs, even people love cats, whatever. Dogs usually have a fairly good appeal to people, and family does too. And a lot of times when you're dealing with, let's say, immigration law, these are people who want a better future for their family. They're family oriented for the most part. So why not put your family there and personalize and explain why I am doing what I'm doing? It's not just, I went to law school and I put my various practice areas in the hat and I picked immigration. Explain that, and personalize it. And the more you connect with your prospective client, the better off you're going to be. And that's the thing I think you have to look at. Here are my strengths. Here are my weaknesses. I'm going to highlight my strengths and minimize my weaknesses. And the law firms, even the solo practitioner, look, all right, this case is too big just for me. I'm going to maybe refer it out or bring somebody else in. And then you establish that relationship as the go-to point of contact for them in the legal world. And attorneys can refer other cases to other attorneys and they get referral fees, so they don't just have to go, well, if I give it to this attorney, I'm not going to get anything. You might get a substantial amount of money and not have to necessarily do most of the, the legwork. So you can then get more clients that you can handle successfully.
That is a really great piece of advice, the personalization, because I feel like that's something that a lot of people try and keep away from their business. But when you're in this field as somebody who is trying to stand out, why wouldn't you do that thing that makes you stand out and show that you're a human and how you relate to the
Right.
people that you're trying to help? That makes so much sense. So what would you
Yeah.
say the most important thing to do to get ahead of the need? You mentioned earlier that, people don't need an attorney until they need an attorney. They're not thinking about it. So what would you give, um, what would be the one piece of advice you would give to an attorney who's like, I don't know where to start with my marketing. What do I need to do to get ahead of the need?
Yeah, well, for that, I would say, generally, like any business out there, any big organization is, work with somebody. We do it. Obviously, work with people who are going to develop a plan with you, a plan of attack, a marketing plan, a PR plan, because if you don't have that plan, you're just throwing things out the wall. I mean, it's, law school, they say, just throw everything at the wall and see what sticks when you're making, pursuing a case, et cetera. That doesn't work because you don't have unlimited spaghetti to throw at the wall, And so if you have a plan of attack going, all right, I want to establish relationships. My marketing plan is going to say, all right, ultimately I want to have $100,000 more in revenue over the next 12 months. All right. I'm going to work on some of the immediate need of, all right, if somebody, personal injury attorney, I'm going to do some kind of advertising that takes advantage of that, like, Google ads, for example. But then I'm also going to work on, my website. I'm also going to work on establishing relationships with referral sources, other attorneys, reaching out to them, reaching out via LinkedIn for those types of things. There are local networking events where we are in Florida. The chambers are open. They're having meetings. There's groups like Business Networkers International and BNI, which I've been a part of for off and on for, I think, about 10 years. And those are good ways to start building some relationships with some people. And then, of course, you integrate the public relations aspect. I mean, I was a public affairs officer in the Air Force. I ran public affairs for a lot of the bigger bases out there. I was also a press officer for the Food and Drug Administration in Washington. And media can be very important, and there's a list every day of reporters needing somebody to comment, on something, all right, you're a contractor, you're building a house or you're putting a renovation on your house. The contractor shows up the first day and doesn't show up for 2 weeks after. They have a good portion of your money. What do you do? And a reporter might be writing a story or producing a story for the, TV. Well, then we interject ourselves in that conversation and then gets you that media play. And then you can take that media attention, you put it on your website, And then you use it. If you don't have an email list, you should develop it. You put an email newsletter out. You could do YouTube videos and everything else, but you have to do some of that stuff so that when somebody comes into the funnel, you look like you can handle this. You can do it. And there are a lot of lawyers who you go to their website and it doesn't present the picture you want to present to people. Like an attorney, I've seen it. An attorney who, you look up the attorney, you go to Google My Business, and they have one review, and it's a 1-star review. Now, I don't know about you, but I'm not going to an attorney that has one review and it's 1 star. It's not going to happen. So those are the things you have to do ahead of the curve. And if you have a marketing plan in place, you're not surprised. You're going in with the right expectations and you're funding it at the right level so you succeed. I mean, if you go to Georgetown, if you're not prepared to commit $30,000+ a year and pay it over your rest of your life, then don't go there. It's the same thing it's the same thing with marketing is going in with eyes wide open, understand that it's going to be a challenge, but once you get better and better at it and establish yourself, you will find that it produces results, but it's that consistency that you do it. I always talk about, I want to send a mailer out to somebody. We've got a lawyer and a state attorney who's doing a seminar next month. You can send that mailer out one time. That's not going to get you the results that you necessarily need. You've got to hit people multiple times in multiple avenues. And so if you say, I'm going to mail something out one time, I say, it's almost, don't do it. Commit to it 5 times, 6 times, and it's that constant repetition that helps. And everybody gets enamored with electronic communications now, and the challenge is your inbox is probably as full as my inbox, and all your filters half the time filter out stuff that you may even be interested in. And then you open it up and go, this is interesting. But then, Brad's calling. Let me look at it later. And then 12 other emails come in and then you forget about that. So I think you've got to have a multi-channel approach to things and focus on, digging the well before you're thirsty is a book. I think there was a book called that.
I love that.
Yeah.
So it's really about omnipresence. It's what you would say, like just making sure you're seen everywhere, you're doing everything, and
Right.
doing it multiple times.
Right. And using, and using what you have to, to offer. I mean, look, I'm a bald man. It would be stupid for me to go, hey, everybody, got a big head of hair on my head, so to speak. And, because eventually they're going to see me. They're going to go, this guy, well, I'm working on a book, webinar or something. I don't know yet, but, Bald Man's Guide to Marketing or something like that. but because I think sometimes it helps to think of yourself as all right, I'm a bald guy from New York. I'm not Hugh Grant or whatever. So when you go there, you've got to make people interested in you and highlight what you have to offer and not pretend you're something other than you're not. Because when you're dealing with law, people are involved in generally high stress situations. And they've got to, tell you their deepest, darkest secrets, so to speak. And they want to be able to talk to a human being. They don't want to deal with a robot. This is somebody I'm going to spend a good amount of money with. Depends on, what type of law, but I'm going to then tell everything. They're going to ask me questions that I may feel uncomfortable answering. So if they don't think of you as a genuine human being, unless you're a complete bulldog and you tell people, look, I'm a bulldog, I don't really care about anything else but winning, then that's a positioning statement. But for most of us, hey, this is me, this is Brad Swezey. I get impatient when I have to wait at 3 traffic lights in a row. I can pretend I don't, but I do. And that's one of the questions I use when I interview people is, what do you do if you got 3 traffic lights in a row? How do you handle that, and be honest, because at one point we're going to be in a traffic and there's going to be 3 traffic lights in a row. So I think the more you can do that, the better off you are.
I 100% agree. It just goes back to leaning into who you are and making sure that your client or potential clients are getting what they're expecting from you.
Right.
So on that note, if somebody was going to back up, they don't have a budget yet to hire somebody to help them, what is the one most important thing to do to start their marketing process and start getting ahead of people and start planting that seed before they can really grow a budget and get enough clients to go full force?
All right. Well, I'll speak about the COVID environment, because if we clamp down and you can't go talk to people, and then, a normal environment, if I had a limited or almost no budget, I mean, I would focus on, in a COVID world, is I've got to start developing a list of people that I can email. I've got to, and that doesn't necessarily cost anything. I mean, you can start connecting with people, your referral sources for you as an attorney. Like if I'm doing elder, state law, probate law, et cetera. Look, there are CPAs out there that are going to be influential on where clients put their money and how they plan. That doesn't cost anything to connect with them. There are financial planners, same kind of thing. They're out there, they're trying to get business. So I would try to reach out to them and then try to look for opportunities where we can partner together and do a webinar in the COVID world, or a real in-person seminar, even at a bank, and collect your stuff together and do something. Like one of our attorneys, he's a solo practitioner. He's partnered with the funeral homes. They're doing a seminar next month at a funeral home's location, not in the actual funeral home, but right there, because
Right.
the fact is we're all going to die.
Yeah.
Who's going to get your money? Is it going to be your family? Or is it going to be the government? How do you deal with that? So those don't necessarily, that relationship, when he reached out to this funeral home, that didn't cost anything. I mean, it was the good old, put the shoes on and go out there and pound the pavement, so to speak. And you can do it electronically, trying to connect to people, with LinkedIn, and you can do social media too, Facebook. I know LinkedIn is part of social media, but when people say social media, most people think, all right, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, et cetera. And the other thing is I would connect with some of your local reporters. I mean, you've got the TV, reach out to the, TV, find out who's the local reporters are, and just reach out to them and say, hey, I'm available as a source. If you need any, expert, subject matter expert for a particular article, I'm going to be the one you can talk to. And the more quotable you can be, the better. I mean, a reporter, is constantly under a deadline. Everything is deadline driven. You and I could be talking right now and we're working on a story, and all of a sudden something breaks on my other screen, like a news thing breaks. And then all of a sudden, oh, Kory, I got to go cover this story,
Right.
And so you've got to be available to the media. And when you are available, the more, colorful you can be, the more they like that. They, be quotable, if you
It really comes back to your authenticity and
right.
be yourself, have a
I mean,
personality, and they're going to be interested in you. And then simultaneously, people are going to want to read about you and learn more about who you are and how you help people.
yeah.
And I think this is really great advice, because as you're saying, it's free to build these relationships, to go bump some elbows. Like, we're not really shaking hands right now.
Right.
You can go and touch elbows, and
It's
free. And there's so much that can come out of that too, as far as like authority marketing and building your content just by talking to people. I think that's great advice.
Yeah. And you can also do, every state has a small business development center, SBDC. They've got multiple locations around. I've done some classes for at the colleges in Florida, where the small business development centers are. And there are often entrepreneurs there who want to start a business, right? But there are a variety of subjects. So as an attorney, I could put, 3 things you need to do to protect your personal assets of starting a business or something like that. And you don't pay anything for that. The college and the small business development center will, publicize that. You'll probably get 20 to 30 people in the room who want to listen. Maybe one is, going to be a viable candidate who's going to want to spend money with you. But, that doesn't matter. I mean, I got one of my biggest clients through LinkedIn, through doing something similar at a career in Florida. They have these it was careerbrevard.com, but it's by the state where people can go in. If you're looking for a job or you're looking to start a business, the state has different things. And I did a thing at Career Brevard, I think that's what it's called, this a few years ago. And the director of that liked what I said, and she connected me with somebody on LinkedIn who's in Texas, by the way. And he ended up, being a very big client for me, and so that it didn't come right from that. I also, I try to give people advice that I've done myself is what I did as I reached out to Florida Today is like a paper in Florida. It's like it's a daily paper. So it's a daily newspaper. I reached out to them and said, look, I'd like to write a column on small business marketing. I said, give me some ideas. I did. And, I wrote a column for Florida Today for a while, on small business marketing. And that got me business. That didn't cost me anything.
Yeah, absolutely. Because you're providing them content, but you're also
right.
Your expertise in the area for people to read about. This is all you're giving. I can count probably 20 different tips that you've given that have just been really amazing.
Yeah.
So I kind of want to move on and I want to talk about your business now. So, what's the most exciting thing that's coming up for you in your businesses?
Yeah. So, on the legal front, what's the most exciting is we finally got everybody, the right people in the right positions. We've got an approach that can deal with clients and manage clients, whether they're in person or they're 1,000 miles away or 2,000 miles away. We've got the team in place. We've got the processes and systems in place to make sure that we can execute, quickly and accurately for people. I mean, when you first started, all right, a lot of companies had everything on let's say a server, one server in an office, et cetera, and they managed processes through that. We transitioned to a different project management system. We've incorporated Slack, into our daily world. And so you can reach out and say, all right, I've got a question. All right, Kory just asked me a question. Tracy, can you get me that? So we've done that. We've had, we've had people who were working when it started who aren't working now. We've got, a different group of people, and these are people we've hired in a COVID environment, and so that's a little bit different. I mean, the two people who helped me primarily in Florida, and we've got the team in New York, I've met them twice. They live an hour away, et cetera, but we can communicate and work things, and it really flows well. And so now it's just saying, all right, we've got this process in place. We've got the right team in place. Now we can go and incorporate the in-person stuff and the online stuff and do that. And, one of the things we're looking at doing is something similar to you is, all right, let's have a podcast or something along those lines with attorneys, just, but focus on it, on a marketing angle for them. So whether it be a quick interview or something like that, where they can then post that on their website or something. So it doesn't cost anything, but it's a lead generation thing for us. We'll give you a little bit, you can take it and, have it, because one of the things is most attorneys don't want to be on TV. They don't want to be taped. They don't want to be on their website talking. I mean, I think all of us, if you'd never dealt with attorneys, you go, they're on TV all the time. Of course they're going to want to talk, and they don't. A lot of attorneys, they got into law because they want to practice law, and just leave me alone. I want to practice law.
Yeah.
So I think we've got the right mix of people and the right team, and we've got a great team here, diverse staff from all over the place, and I think that helps because you've got younger people who, cable. I don't know what the hell cable is, or I had one where, I don't even own a printer. I need you to print something out. You don't own a printer? We got to get you a printer. But that's what you realize is everybody does things differently. And, the phone is like, I tell people, what does it look like on the phone? My staff will probably tell you that's one of the most common questions. What does it look like on the phone? I don't care what the website looks like on the website. What does it look like on the phone?
Oh, yeah.
Because,
100%.
yeah,
That's where most people are looking at their websites.
yeah, yeah. And it's funny because sometimes people never even go to a website. They just find someone, they might see a Google Business review, and then they just call the law firm and they've never even looked at the website,
Yeah.
you know? So,
Yeah.
but it's funny because you think, when you're doing your own and you would do it with your own businesses, look, of course, this is obvious. They're going to go here. They're going to go here. This is great, and then they never even saw that. I said, I spent all that time on it. They never even saw it, but it feels good to get it done and have things in place. So, when somebody comes into the door, you're ready to convert them. And I think we thought, back to your original question, because I go around a lot, is we thought when COVID first started, back in March of 2020 or so, bankruptcies are going to go crazy. Bankruptcies all over the place, right? And so we postured to go after bankruptcy attorneys. That's where it made sense.
Okay.
Financial doom. Well, bankruptcy attorneys have not had a good time because of all the rescue things out there. Bankruptcies are not very high at all compared to what we thought they were going to be. And so you have to reposition. So, you adjust, you take that flexible approach to things, and then you configure a little bit better, and then you adjust and you move on. And that's what you have to do is, do that. We put out every week I put out a weekly 3 to 4 minute, email, video, whatever, on an email, talking about various aspects to try to help, attorneys, do it. And, the thing with everybody else, and even a guy or a woman who's going to hire an attorney, is it's always, well, how much it's going to cost me, right? Because, ultimately, if it was free, of course you'd do it. But, just like a lawyer, people have to get paid for what they do, and you have to make that decision. Is it worth, paying this for or not? I mean, I just reached out to an attorney who contacted us back in March of last year, touched base with her in March of this year. I've been touching her, through our marketing systematic process. And originally she said, well, I'm going to choose somebody else to do my website because they're cheaper. Right. And so I went on today, 7 months later, 6 months later, the website's still there, the exact same finish it was when we first started, So I emailed her right before this. I haven't heard back from her yet on, well, what's going on with your website? Because it's been 6 months and there's no change. So that's what happens is people don't want to act on the change. I mean, sometimes people think everything's got to be perfect before you start, out on something. And the reality is, if you wait for perfect in the marketing world, you're going to be dead, because it's like, we can do a podcast. All of a sudden we're doing a podcast and then, power goes out. Things will always go wrong. You'll put something online. You've read it 500 times. You've had somebody else proofread it, and then it goes online, or you print it, and there's this obvious error that, yeah, because our brains start seeing what we want to see. And like I always tell my staff is read it out loud from the backup. I want you to read it out loud because that'll force you to slow down and realize, that's not what I meant,
That's
and you
great advice.
Yeah.
It's
So
funny
I've been-
because on the topic of podcasting, if I had waited till I felt comfortable podcasting, I would not be on this call with you right now.
Right. Yeah.
You have to just do it. Otherwise, you're just never going to.
Yeah. And I think that brings up another thing with the attorneys is, look, I just reached out to you guys, right? I mean, I saw an interview with Emily, right? And saw an interview. I said, all right, I'm going to reach out to you. What's the worst I can say?
And we said yes.
We don't deal with bald guys, just, so that's the kind of thing that, you do is don't wait for perfect. You could always change stuff online. I mean, that's the reality. And look, I'm not a perfect human. And, like I used to do this with my weekly, video emails is I would film it and then I go, oh man, I just made a mistake right there. Then I go back and film it again. And then the next thing you know, 2 hours later, I don't have the finished product. I said, forget this. This is going to be, this is me. I'm making a mistake sometimes. I'll catch it. And we're just going on. And I think people like to see, people don't like to see people mess up, but it's always fun watching somebody else when it's not you,
It's
make a
like the
mistake. And
authenticity part of it.
right.
Or it's
Yeah.
you're just seeing that's a real person and they may have said the wrong thing at the moment, but it's really
Right.
real and
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
authentic.
Yeah. So, and I think that's really ultimately what I would advise, small business or small attorneys, solo practitioners, small firm is you really have to be authentic. Don't try to pretend you're a, huge company or huge legal firm because that's not you are on your own because you want to help people that you want to help solve a legal problem. And that's you. I mean, there's a book called it's the no a-hole rule. I don't know if you ever heard of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, you get to largely determine who you're going to work with, who you're going to spend your limited time on earth doing your legal practice, who are you going to do with? I was an officer in the Air Force and, I went to the Air Force Academy, and you have no choice. This is the people you're working with. I don't care if it's, 11:30 at night. We need you to work for another 5 hours, whatever. It doesn't matter. We have a little bit more control as solo practitioners and small businesses, which, you guys are and we are, is to work with people and find the people you need when you, need somebody and you can bring them in and use them to, help you and you can help them and give them that experience. And you start developing a team of people who work well together, regardless of where they are. I mean, and I think the more you as a law firm can find those people to help you out, like I was talking to a solo practitioner yesterday, and I think, he would be a great fit for, what you guys do is, find the right people to help you out. You don't need to have a full-time staff, find the people who are going to be good at what you can do, good at stuff that you don't want to do or can't do. And it doesn't matter where they are. And I think a lot of people, when COVID first started, were really going, I'm just going to wait this out. I'm going to, my wife runs a travel agency. She's been in the travel business for 20 years. She's got about 10 or 11 agents working with her across the country. And when it first started, it'll be over in 3 months, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, and if any, people out there, any type of industries, travel agents, they had a pretty bad year and a half.
Yeah.
I mean, there were a couple of months where she made no money and had to work to cancel trips. And she's a top producer. She's not, all right, I've been doing this for whatever it is. And so what that helps me when I'm dealing with some law firms is, look, I know where you are in terms of being concerned about revenue, because I have a business. My wife has a business. Her business went, it dropped, and like you, it's the same thing. Your income may drop, but that doesn't mean your expenses dropped.
Right.
Right. And so you tell people that. I had an attorney call me, it was about 2 months ago. It was a Saturday morning. I was at the gym. I like Planet Fitness because I used to travel a lot and Planet Fitness is all over the place.
Yeah.
And I was there. Guy calls me Saturday morning. Maybe he thought I was going to get my voicemail. I picked up and I talked to him and I tell him, look, if you're working on the weekend, then chances are I'll be working as well, because I know that's when lawyers, a lot of times during the week, they're so busy on, what they need to do. They don't have time to think until the weekend. So, I'm available on the weekend.
Right. Makes sense. So I'm really curious because you mentioned earlier that you went to law school. So how did you end up from going to law school to the legal space of marketing? How'd you on that journey?
Yeah. So the Air Force Academy is like, most people have heard of West Point or Annapolis,
Mm-hmm.
The Air Force Academy is the Air Force equivalent of those two. So, so I basically went to college there. I graduated with academic honors. I went into public affairs in the Air Force, which is public relations, basically. I was an officer, at various locations at Hanscom Air Force Base. I got to spend some time during Desert Storm and in Riyadh. I was up in Massachusetts and I wanted to go to law school, and the Air Force first said no, then they said yes. So I actually, the first 2 weeks of law school, and I still had to work for the Air Force, I actually commuted from Boston down to DC.
Oh my gosh.
I would fly out on the shuttle, because it's ironic. As soon as you get to the airport at Logan, the shuttle from Logan to DC is about an hour. Sometimes the commute is that long. So I did that, and I was going to law school. I was married at the time. I had, one kid and two kids. And, while I was doing that, I said, I need to get some, some money to help support the family. So I was an officer. I was doing that. Then I said, I don't want to be an officer full time anymore. So what I did was I got out, I got my securities licenses. So I was a financial advisor while I was going to law school. And my wife was from Colorado. My now ex-wife was from Colorado. So after 2 years, I had 2 years of law school done. My wife at the time wanted to go back to Colorado. And I said, all right, I was actually making a good amount of money on the financial advising stuff. I said, I'll go back. We'll go to Colorado. I'll finish law school there. Well, I never ended up finishing, and when I got to Colorado, there's a reserve officer position. So I basically did the reserves while I was doing my financial stuff. And then I got an opportunity to go back to Massachusetts for a year and a half to deal with a environmental situation with the Air Force at a radar site on the East Coast. So I basically worked that for a year and a half or so. And then during that time, 9/11 happened, right? And so I was doing that. I got activated, and then a position opened up at Andrews Air Force Base, where the president, United States, wing is, so Air Force One. So I was able to get that position. And then I, did, PR stuff, for the Air Force. And then I went to the National Guard Bureau. I did stuff there. Then I got offered to go down to Patrick, Cape Canaveral, where the Kennedy Space Center is, to handle PR down there. And so while I was down there, I interacted with a lot of small businesses. And at that time I said, I don't want to stay. Oh, I went back to DC. I worked for the Food Drug Administration. And then I got back to Patrick. So I had a lot of different jobs.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was like, I don't want to move back to DC. For me to move up in the government around there for my job, I had to go back to DC. And I said, I don't want to deal with that. I mean, I would leave for work sometimes in DC at 4:30 in the morning. I get on the metro at 5 a.m. I'd be in the office at 6. I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
So I interacted with a lot of, small businesses as a public relations guy for the Air Force, and I realized, look, a lot of these small businesses, they join a chamber, whatever, they get started. And then all of a sudden this group of advertisers just flocks to them. It's like, how much money can we extract from this small business before it goes out of business? Because the failure rate is fairly high, 50 to 80%. So I realized these people are being taken advantage of. And, I've always believed in service, public service, et cetera. And I realized they're being taken advantage of. They need somebody to come in and go, all right, I'll be your chief marketing officer. I'll do a marketing plan for you. I'll help you deal with advertisers, and then when the advertiser comes and throws some BS at you, I go, that doesn't make any sense. Let's take a look at this. And so I did that. Now, PR for Lawyers, the Public Relations and Marketing Group and PR for Lawyers, they're, together. John and I actually in 2000 came up with the idea, back in 2000.
Yeah.
And, I went, 9/11 happened, et cetera. So it just never happened. And he wanted me to go back to New York. I said, John, I'm not going back to New York. And what's funny is this is the problem with LinkedIn though, right? You get so many messages with LinkedIn, right? Well, so this happened about a month ago. I actually started scrolling through some older LinkedIns. I'm talking 3 or 4 years ago that, you just junk. And then I noticed a message from John that said, "Hey, why don't we partner together?" That was 4 years ago. I never saw it, you
Oh
know?
my gosh.
Yeah. So around last year, once COVID started, John, reached out again and let's talk about it. And at that point, he knew, well, doesn't matter where you are. It really
Yeah.
doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So, so that's how I got involved with the PR for lawyers, approach with him and really focused on that side of the business, so to speak. And it works. John's a lawyer. We have a lawyer on staff, so you can connect with lawyers. You understand a little bit what they're going through and you're not intimidated. I think a lot of times people can get intimidated by lawyers or doctors or whatever,
Mhm.
and I don't necessarily get intimidated. I've gone to a pretty good law school. I know my craft very well. I've been practicing for a long time, and I always try to give them, just like a lawyer will give the client, here's the straight scoop here. You know,
Yeah.
you've got you've got no shot of winning this case. The only thing I can, you know, just just try to mitigate your losses or whatever. But I think people appreciate, if you're being honest with them. And there's some people, look, you can't help or you can't afford it or you don't want to pay for it. That's fine. I mean, you give people your honest opinion about something and they may not like it, but they'll respect you, for that. And you realize, that's all you can do is practice what you do, be the best you can be. But like we tell lawyers, you can't just expect that to happen. You have to go out there and market yourself. I mean, it's just a part of the world. And on average, most businesses, it's about 10% or so. Your target revenue should be devoted to marketing. And if you're not going to grow. I mean,
Mhm.
you might grow through the right case and get the right referral, but that's not you. That's you not necessarily controlling your fate as much as relying on other people, to control it. And you go in with the right attitude and like, look, I know I'm going to make mistakes,
Mhm.
it, but if you're moving fast, you can always correct your mistakes.
Yeah.
You can go and then, all right, let's fast. Now let's slow. Let's bring something up. And people want you to offer a different perspective than they can get from everybody else. Cause now everybody's an expert on everything, right? Right. I mean,
Marketing and legal are both two of the top things you could think you Google it and know the answer.
yeah, yeah. It's like, oh yeah. Okay. Boom. Like all of a sudden you saw Afghanistan. All of a sudden, everybody's an expert on military strategy in Afghanistan.
Yeah.
Everybody's an expert on it. I mean, the fact is, not everybody's an expert on everything, and
Mhm.
you and I, if we looked at the same situation, you're going to see it from your perspective and I'm going to see it from my perspective. And if we both take those perspectives, we might develop something, better than we could either do on our own. And I think the law firms and the lawyers, they just have to realize that they need a little bit of help along the way to help them be the best attorney and help people realize that they're the best attorney for this particular situation. And you could say, listen, I'm an attorney. I only handle cases of people who drive minivans because I love minivans, right? If you drive any other vehicle, I don't want to deal with you. I mean,
Right.
I don't suggest that or recommend that, but it's a strategy,
And
you know?
hey, it's niching down,
Right. Right. This is who I want to deal with, not anybody else.
Mm.
And you'd be surprised if you do that. You're going to lose some people, but then there's going to be a group of people who, hey, they love minivans and
Yeah, you're gonna find your people when you narrow
yeah,
it down a little bit
yeah,
like that and make sure
it-
your messaging's clear. If your
right.
messaging's not clear, it's not gonna work.
Yeah, yeah,
If
exactly.
messaging is clear, then you're gonna find your people. So
Yeah. And you want to just make sure there's enough of those people to support you in your efforts. You don't want to
yeah.
you down so much that, well, I've helped one person. I mean, that's it. I can
Yeah,
help
that's
one
my
person.
full pool of people.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think the more you can do that, the better off you are. And I have done everything in PR and marketing out there. there's not a thing I've done. I forgot to mention, I also put on, air shows, Fort Lauderdale Air Show, Ocean City Air Show. I mean, big events, and I familiar with all the things that can go wrong in big events. I mean, this is good. We're doing the Fort Lauderdale Air Show back in 2013. That was that weekend. Well, the Monday there was a little thing called the Boston. It's not little, but there was the Boston bombing at the marathon.
Oh man.
Well, you're doing this huge public event in Florida. All of a sudden, the world went amok. And then we had to get the Homeland Security involved and do all of these different things. But that's what happens. Things go unexpectedly, and you've got to be able to pivot as they do it. And I think the small law firm, which shows people, look, I can pivot very easily. I don't have to coordinate with 12 other attorneys. It's me. All right. I'm not going to go to this appointment now. I'm going to help you with your case. And then you can adjust, what you're doing. And people appreciate talking to an attorney who answers the phone. I mean, so many people don't. The problem is there's so much, cold calling that comes in, but all right, I'm going to call this attorney. I'm going to text them and I'm going to reach them. And I tell my clients, look, you're very rarely going to catch me off guard. If you email me at 1:30 in the morning, chances are by 4 a.m. you're going to get an answer from me.
Yeah.
I wake every hour and a half. I get up. I just do. I don't know if it's, in the military or whatever. I just do. So I'm always checking to make sure if you've got something, it's not going to be that long, but I'm willing to do that. Not everybody's willing to do that. I am. And so I say, well, test me.
Yeah.
Test me. And you'll see that. And I think once you can walk the talk, so to speak, walk the talk, the more likely the clients are going to go, all right, this guy or this woman, she, will take my case on and see it to the end. And I think that's the one thing you do, because you don't want to be, well, I call this attorney, and now I haven't heard from him in 2 or 3 weeks. I mean, just touch base with them. I mean, I think that's where, anybody can help you with. If you have a follow-up system, you just say, all right, every week, send an email to Kory. Kory, we're still working your case. So Kory knows you haven't forgot about him or forgot about you. Yeah. So.
Yeah, that's really good advice. And we always tell people, voicemail is the quickest way to kill your new leads. You're going to lose them. They're just going to keep moving on.
Yes.
Phone's answered, because that's what they're looking for, especially if there's somebody's calling a smaller attorney. They want to get you or get somebody that represents you on the phone.
Right.
So
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I think I do that. And I test clients as well. And I know you guys call law firms as well, is, we're doing a very big ad campaign for them. And I called on a Friday afternoon and I got, you reached extension 202 or something. Please leave a message.
mm-hmm.
So I immediately called the attorney on his cell phone. I said, look, these ads are running. I just called the number and I get this extension 202. I don't know where you are. I actually called it 3 or 4 times because I was like, am I dialing it wrong? And that's what exactly you bring up. People are going to move on. They may leave a voicemail. If they do,
chances are slim.
They're just going to go, I'm dialing and I'm going to call the next. And so
we had called a big group of solo attorneys and small firms. And the number of people that didn't answer was higher than any other factor of what we were calculating. But we also got people that would just answer, hello. And you're like, did I reach this attorney?
Right.
Like, I thought I was calling a law firm. Is this the attorney?
Right.
I'm like, oh yeah, it's me. I'm here.
Yeah.
But
yeah, exactly. Yeah. It is. And that's the thing that I recommend people is just do that, go, call your own firm. I mean, I actually did a presentation this morning for the big BNI, the Business Networkers International Group on that. I mean, we will call the client, we'll call them and see, right. And I've got this particular problem and see what actually happens. Does the person answer the phone? Do they say hello? Is there a kid crying in the background, dog crying in the background, whatever.
Yeah.
Because I think you're spending all of this money to get somebody to call you. And then why would you leave out the key step is answering the phone?
Absolutely. Because then you're taking all this time to curate your marketing. So you better be able to follow it up with the customer service.
Right. Yeah.
To seal the
Yeah.
deal.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean,
Yeah.
if you're not going to do that, don't do that. Don't say you're available 24/7 and you're not available 24/7. Your voicemail is available 24/7.
Right.
Just tell people and they'll move on. I mean, they will in a heartbeat. They'll go, boop, all right, boop. And it's the same thing with an auto repair shop. All right, my car's broken. I'm on the side of the road. Oh, no answer. Yeah. Oh, you could take me today? Okay.
Yeah. It just goes back to being authentic and continuing to be who you are and delivering on what you're promising.
Yeah. And then
So this has been really, really great. Thank you so much. Where can people find you now?
well, we can go on prforlawyers.com. They can find us. I don't know if you put on the podcast. I mean, I've got a little hyperlink, a special offer for people who listen to this as well.
Yeah, share it.
So I'll share it. Can I share it afterwards? Because it's a hyperlink.
Yeah, we'll add it to the notes.
Yeah, share the note. But we always offer a free consultation with people. It's typically 30 minutes to an hour. You say it's 30 minutes, but in case you haven't figured out, I'll talk. I'll lose track. But and we just dialogue back and forth. And then where do you want to go? What do you want to do? You want to practice for 10 years? You want to just ride it out to the end? We're going to develop the best approach for you. And if you don't like talking to people, well, we'll find the people who don't like talking to people. There's all kinds of, people out there, and not everybody sees the world the same way, and they never will, despite everybody saying that. But you have to be able to help whatever that client is, whatever law firm it is out there, get the most type of people that you really want to help, and you'll feel good about helping. You'll get paid to doing what you want to do. I got a friend of mine from law school. He does a lot of contract law. And I saw him last summer, drive back, and I saw him at 6:30 in the morning and I saw him at 9:00 at night. He was in there just, reading contracts. And I said, Hal, you look miserable. You just look, he goes, yeah, but this is the life I have, right now. But so as a solo practitioner, you're already on your own. So you might as well, focus on finding the type of clients who will pay you for what you do. And the better you get at it, the more you can charge for it. If that's what you want to do, you may not. You may, you may position yourself as, I don't want to charge too much. I want to feel good about what I'm doing. At the end of the day, I've helped people. I did it my way. And, that's all I can ask for.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Brad.
Thank you, Kory.
And to everyone listening, if you learned anything or enjoyed this podcast, share with someone else who might get some value from it. That's it. Another great episode of Solo de Facto. So we'll catch y'all next time.
Thank you for joining us for today's show. For more information, visit our site at solodefacto.com. And remember, smash that like and subscribe button on your favorite podcast app. Solo de Facto is sponsored by Back Office Betties, trusted virtual legal receptionist, helping you grow your firm one call, one chat, one new client at a time. To discover how they can help you grow your firm, head on over to backofficebetties.com and mention the Solo de Facto show for an exclusive listener offer.